health warriors. Welcome to this episode of Crafting Mental Health. Hey there, my mental health warriors, friends, family, anybody that's new listening to the podcast for the first time. Welcome. I'm glad that you all tuned in this week. Hope you all are having a good week and staying warm. It's kind of chilly. It's wintertime. The weather here in North Carolina is a little bit warmer lately, so it definitely helps with not feeling so dreary half the time because it's so cold. I'm definitely one that struggles with what's called seasonal depression. And, when it gets so cold during the winter times, I can struggle sometimes. But it's warming up, and a friend of mine just sent me a picture the other day of her daffodils blooming, and that made me super excited because then that means spring is literally just around the corner. And I'm so excited for that because I do not like being cold. Anywho, so question of last week, let me quickly answer that. The question was, for those who don't remember, what famous person have you met and what was your experience? So my experience when I met a famous person, well, I didn't realize he was famous until after the fact. So I was flying from South Africa to the U.S. or the other way around. Either way, I was at the airport waiting to board the super long flight. And so normally you go through one security check and then you go wait at the gate. And then, first of all, our flight got delayed by almost 2 hours, and we had to go through an additional security check where they literally checked your hand luggage. They went through every pocket of your book bag. It was like a very intense second security check. And so once we were on the plane, we're sitting on our seats. There's this kind of old guy, probably like in his 70s or something, that's walking down the aisles and shaking people's hands. And I'm like, I was sitting in the aisle seat, so he shook my hand, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know who this guy is, but I guess he must be important because I'm assuming all the security stuff was for him. So later on, I asked someone, I'm like, who is that guy? And they're like, oh, it's Jimmy Carter. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I still don't know who Jimmy Carter is. And I went to go do my homework and come to find out that he is one of the previous presidents of the United States. One would think that I would have known that by now. But anywho, so yes, I had the privilege of shaking Jimmy Carter's hand and flying with him on a 17-hour flight. So, well, not with him. He was probably in first class and we were all in the back. So that's my story on a famous person I met and how that all went down. So this week's topic is self-doubt. Actually, when I was planning for the podcast, I had a different topic in mind. And one morning this week, driving, my son and I were talking in the car, and the topic of self-doubt came up. And I thought, you know what, that might actually be a very good topic to talk about because, self-doubt, everybody struggles with self-doubt at some point or another. And self-doubt in its own is not necessarily a bad thing. You can experience self-doubt when you start a new job or when you, start a new sport or when you at the gym and you wanting to bench press a heavier number, you have this little voice in your head that will tell you that, no, you can't do that. You won't be able to do that. And that's self-doubt. Now, if you're going to listen to that little voice in your head and say, oh, you're right, then that's where it becomes a problem. But if you go and say to that little voice, like, you know what, you just need to shh, and I'm going to press through. I'm going to rock this new job. They wouldn't have hired me if my qualifications wasn't good enough. The new sport that I'm doing, if there's anything that I need to learn, I can learn it. Anything is possible. And, even if you like go to the gym and you want to, bench press something heavier, I think a lot of times in our minds, we doubt that we can do something. And in reality, our bodies are capable of doing so much more, but our mind is what gets in the way sometimes. So if we can learn how to tell that little voice inside of our head to just be quiet, then we would be able to do unstoppable things and some amazing things. And and I'm sure like everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say that little voice inside their head is, telling them that they're not good enough, or telling them that they won't be able to do it. And I think that is what makes, when we talk about in the realm of athletes, or even, anything really, but the topic that my son and I were talking about was, phenomenal athletes, like those guys who played in the Super Bowl. Excuse me. And, so with phenomenal athletes, I think the reason that they are so great is because they have found a way to tell that little voice in their head to be quiet. And they have learned and taught themselves how to overcome those negative thoughts of like, oh, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or, somebody is better than me, or, I'm not capable of doing something, or my muscles ain't strong enough to do this, or whatever it is that voice in your head is telling you. If you find that way to tell that voice to be quiet and, or even just drone it out into the background, that is how phenomenal athletes and phenomenal people are created. Because they pushing past those thoughts, pushing past those, negative things that's holding them back, those fears. Because ultimately, what self-doubt is based on is a fear of not being good enough, or a fear of failure, a fear of being humiliated, in front of your friends. Like, if you were at a sport tryout or trying a new sport, you have this self-doubt that's based on fear of I'm not going to be able to do it, or what if I fail and I look like an idiot, or what if I fail and people are laughing at me, what if I make a mistake. But if you can learn and be kinder to yourself and say, what, mistakes happen. And if you can learn from a mistake and realize what the mistake was and how you can prevent making it, first of all, you won't have that fear anymore. Once you've moved past it, once you've learned how to overcome that obstacle, then you can prove to yourself like, but hang on, I am good enough. I am able to do this, even though it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes you have to really, really push yourself and, dig down deep to find that drive to do the scary things and to do the hard things. But if you can find those moments and get past those moments where you doubt yourself, you can be unstoppable. You can be so amazing. And, the one thing that I've learned about that is to not rely on someone else to tell me how good I am or to tell me that I'm good enough. I have to tell myself that. Yes, it is nice to hear from somebody else like, oh, you're so wonderful, you're amazing, all of these good things. Of course, it's nice to hear that. However, if I don't believe in myself, all of those things, then those words are just empty words that people are saying, because if you don't believe it, you're not going to believe them. And that is something that, for people who struggle with severe self-doubt, they tend to struggle to receive compliments. And I know that I had to teach myself to, when someone gives me a compliment, instead, because in my mind, what will happen is someone gives me a compliment saying, oh, you're so wonderful at crafting. Or, you're so wonderful at doing this, or you're a really kind person. Whenever somebody would give me a compliment, my mind automatically goes, no, that's not true. That's not right, and that self-doubt would immediately kick in, even before I could even think about what this person just said. So, I had to learn, like, when someone gives me a compliment, to stop and thank them. First of all, thank them for the compliment. But in that process of thanking them and kind of saying, what, thank you for saying that I am good at this, or thank you for, acknowledging that I'm good at something, or, in that moment, it also gives me time to stop that negative voice and focus on the good thing, because now I'm repeating what the person is saying. So therefore, I'm hearing it a second time. And yes, in the beginning, it was hard. It was weird. It was like, what am I doing? But eventually, if you keep doing it, it's like a muscle. If you keep working out the muscle, eventually it's going to get stronger and stronger. And so, what I've learned is, if I, just keep reminding myself, when someone gives me a compliment, I thank them for it. And then, I need to say, I need to believe what people are saying. But I need to also be kind to myself, and you guys also need to be kind to yourselves. Like, we're so critical of our own things. And because we're so critical, self-doubt will creep in so quickly and so easily. So therefore, we need to, when those negative thoughts come into our minds, we need to capture them and say, hang on. Like I've said in a previous episode, we need to capture the thought and question it. It's like, is this true? Like if you're starting a new job, or you're going to start with a new sport. You've never done the sport. Let's talk about sports, because a lot of people out there have done sports, and not everybody has gotten a new job. And I'm rambling on, but anyway, let's talk about sports. You're trying out for a new sport. You don't know the sport; it's new, and then these thoughts in your minds are saying that no, you can't do it. You're not fast enough. Other kids are faster than you. You need to then grab hold of that thought and say, okay, but hang on, is that true? Am I not capable of running as fast as everybody else? And in the event that the truth is, yes, I am not fast enough as everybody else, is it something that I can improve? Is it something that I can work on to better myself? And if the answer is yes, I can better myself, then you can just take that thought and say, you know what? It might be true right now, but I can fix it. I can make it better. I can drive myself to be better and faster, and do the right things, and do the things that needs to be done in order to succeed in whatever it is that I decide to do. It is normal to have self-doubt thoughts, but if those thoughts are preventing you from being the awesome person that you are, that is when you need to go and start doing some work, find some ways to overcome the self-doubt. And our minds are amazing, because it will automatically have like a backup. Like if you're starting to have self-doubt or fear of failure, our minds will automatically try and find a way to cope with it. Now, unfortunately, sometimes the coping mechanism that is a natural one is not necessarily good. Like, for instance, sometimes when people have self-doubt, they will do what's called self-handicapping. And that is where they would either abuse drugs or alcohol, or even procrastination. That's my biggest one. I procrastinate in doing something because I'm scared of not knowing how to do it, or have a fear of failing. Like, what if what I'm doing is not going to work? Like, for instance, doing this podcast. I had this idea of doing it last summer, and it took me several months before I actually did it, simply because I had self-doubt. I was scared that I was going to fail, or, and like I said in one of the episodes, like, who would want to hear what I have to say? But at the end of the day, I realized, like, even if I have one person that this podcast or an episode can help one person and change one person's life, then it's worth it. And so this is why I'm doing the podcast. And honestly, you guys, every week or every time before I record an episode, I have these self-doubt thoughts in my head. And, of like, this is not going to be good enough. Like, why would someone want to hear this? Like, what if it's boring? What if somebody doesn't like it? But then I have to like stop myself and say, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. What matters is what I believe and how I feel about it. Because, I believe that what I have to say is worth recording and putting out in the universe for anybody to listen to. I believe that it can help someone. It can help help other people understand what it is going through these mental health issues. And that is the main reason for the podcast, is to help people understand, to break the stigma, to start conversations, to make mental health an everyday thing, that it is okay to talk about it. It is okay to have these things that you deal with. It's not something that you need to be ashamed of. And the same goes for when you have self-doubt. It's not something to be ashamed of. But if you're going to let the self-doubt win, then that is where you need to step in and say, you know what? I'm not going to let it win. Because if the self-doubt wins, then you fail. But if you're going to say, you know what? I'm not going to let the self-doubt win. I'm going to push forward. No matter how hard it is, I'm going to push forward. Then you will succeed. And just like I was telling my son, like with, when you have the self-doubt, when you're in the gym and you want to try a heavier weight, we think our bodies, or like while we're doing it, we would think like, oh, I can't do it. Meanwhile, our bodies are capable of doing so much more than what our mind is allowing us to think. Like even if you're running a 5K or a 3-mile race, a lot of times you would, especially with me, actually I have a race tomorrow, but while I'm running, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I don't think I can make it. So I'll put these little markers for myself and say, okay, if I can just make it to that point, and, then I can walk a little bit and catch my breath. And a lot of times I allow my mind to talk me out of it, and I will stop a couple of steps before my marker that I put myself into. But there are some times where I push myself and I go and I say, this is my marker. When I get to that marker, I'm like, okay, I can go a little bit further. And the thing is, what happens in that moment where I break past the self-doubt, I end up feeling so much joy, so much achievement. And so it is just amazing what you feel after you break through the self-doubt. So, and as I say, when you struggle with self-doubt, you need to go find out what you can do to push past it, and don't wait for someone else to tell you that you're good enough to do it. You tell yourself that you're good enough to do it. Even if you have to tell yourself every day when you wake up in the morning, it's like, today's going to be a good day. I'm going to do this today. I'm going to do this. And sometimes you almost like have to fake it till you make it kind of thing. You have to tell yourself, like, you are good enough. You need to be your own cheerleader. Yes, it is great having friends and family and people telling you how wonderful you are and how great you are. But at the end of the day, you have to love yourself and tell yourself these things too, because you are your worst critic. And because you are your worst critic, you're the only one that can soothe those voices in your head and tell those voices, okay, be quiet. I am going to pass through this. I am going to be great. I am going to be phenomenal. And I am going to succeed. I'm not going to fail. I might trip and fall, But I will get back up, I'll dust myself off, and I will carry on. I will succeed. I will be a winner. And what's winning to me might not be winning for the same winning as somebody else. Well, what looks like success to me might not be the same as what success looks like to you. So, one of the biggest things that we need to stop doing is to compare ourselves to somebody else. Because if we compare ourselves to what we see on social media and what we see on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram or in the magazines on TV, I just aged myself by saying magazines. I don't know if there's even magazines out there anymore. But anyway, back to the topic. If we compare ourselves to everybody's highlight reel, we will have the self-doubt. And if we compare ourselves, we're going to feel like we're never good enough. So we need to learn to put those people out of our minds and focus on ourselves and believe in ourselves. And pick ourselves up and say, I can do this. I am worthy of doing this. I am worthy of being loved. I am worthy of, being part of this team, or, I am worthy of having this job. I've gone to school. I've got the degree. They wouldn't have hired me if I wasn't good enough for this job. So I am worthy of it. So I need to tell myself, question, take those negative thoughts, take them hold and question them and say, is this real? Is this true? And if it's something that I can improve on, then I should go in and improve on it. If I can do better at, going to the gym more regularly, so I can get down with my running, I can run faster. Yes, I can do that. I can work on it. I can do better. But at the end of the day, when those self-doubt thoughts come in your mind, you need to jump ahead and say, nope, not today. You're not going to win me today. And in those moments where you trip and fall, it's okay. But don't lay down. Don't feel defeated. Don't lay down. Don't give in. Get back up, dust yourself off, and say, I'm good. I'm going to go. I'm going to go get it. And something that I have learned to do is to, when I have these self-doubt thoughts, is to look back at all the things that I have achieved in my life. Look back at all the good things, where I have succeeded, where I have been amazing. Look back at those and remind yourself like, hey, you are good enough. Or even in like, if I think like, I'm stuck and my life is not going anywhere, then I can look back at what all I have done in my life and where I have come from. Like 10 years ago, what my life looked like was a whole lot worse than it looks like today. But it's because I kept pushing and kept falling and standing back up, that today my life is great. Are there things in my life I would like to change? Absolutely. There's always room for improvement. There's always room to better yourself. But if I look back and compare to my own life, compare to what I've done and where I've come from and the strides that I've made in my life, that helps me remember that, back then I had self-doubt too. But because I overcame it, look what I have accomplished. And, then the other thing that I also do is I try to spend time with people that supports me. Like I've said, you don't want to, rely on everybody else to be your cheerleader, that you have to do it yourself. However, if you go hand in hand with people that support you, that love on you, that will tell you how wonderful and how great you are, but also tell you when you're messing up, those are the people that you want in your life, because you don't just want somebody who's going to lie to your face and say, oh, you're so wonderful. Meanwhile, you actually, you suck. Like, let's think somebody who's singing. Some people just can't sing and some people can. And you don't want a friend, if you're one of those people that can't really sing or hold a tune, you don't want your friends to, tell you, like, hey, you need to go to America's Best or America's Got Talent or The Voice or whatever shows are out there if singing is not your thing. You want to have friends that say, hey, maybe singing is not your thing, but let's find out what your thing is. And then, help help push you to do the things that you are great at. Because it's normally the things that we are great at that we're scared of. Because what if this thing that I am great at, what if I fail? And that is why, if you surround yourself with people that will support you and tell you how good you are, and that you are capable and you are worthy of doing these things that you put your mind to, then when you do trip and fall, these people are there to help pick you up. You can't do life alone, but you also don't want to do life with people that's going to trip you, because you don't want to be around people that's going to tell you how bad you are, or tell you that you're bad and you're not worthy, or you're worthless, or whatever negative things people can say. People can be mean, y'all, and I just surround yourself with people that are nice to you, and you make sure that you're nice to other people. It goes both ways. You can't sit there and tell people that they're idiots all day long, and then expect them to support you when you're going through something. So it's like, do unto others as you want to be done upon yourself. And and like I said, when those thoughts come into your head, just question them. And another thing that helps me sometimes, and I struggle doing this on a regular basis, is journaling. But write down, because if you journal, what I found is journaling helps you to see patterns in terms of, when are you having these negative thoughts? Is it when you had a bad day at school or a bad day at work and you're tired? And all these negative thoughts come in your mind? That's what journaling will help to do. And journaling will also help you just get things out. Sometimes you need to just vent and get it out. Nobody needs to read your journal. And if you feel like anybody's going to read it, well, just, throw it in the trash, tear it up into little pieces of paper, whatever. But at the end of the day, just get it out. And if you write down, let's say you write down this negative thoughts that you have in your head that's causing the self-doubt. If you write them down, and that's when you can say, okay, does this thought make sense? Is this thought true? Then you can start questioning them, and you can actually even, start making notes around that thought that you wrote down and say, no, this isn't true. And if you go back on another day, you can go look back at the thoughts that you had, and then you can realize, in that moment, that thought may have felt real, but now looking at it again, that thought ain't real. That thought's has no weight. So, that's what journaling helps with. Journaling helps with, just keeping track of your thoughts, keeping track of things you're going through. And also what journaling is great at doing is, if you look back a year from now, if you look back at what you're going through right now, you're going to look back and realize oh, wow, look how far I have come. Look what I have overcome in this past year. Things that I thought was so scary a year ago. Now you look back and it's oh, why was I even so afraid of that? And it's going to be oh, that's silly. Thinking about, starting to go to the gym. You recently I've kind of, dropped out of going to the gym on a regular basis. And right now my self-doubt is what if I look like an idiot when I'm in the gym? What if I don't know what to do? Because we joined a new gym and I don't know where everything is. But because I'm scared of failure, scared of looking stupid, I'm procrastinating and not going to the gym. And in hindsight, or in return, not hindsight, but in return, I feel like a failure. So I need to tell myself, or tell my voice in my head to shush, and then get my butt to the gym. Because I know that when I go to the gym on a regular basis, I feel good. Because even going to the gym helps with the good hormones in your mind, and you feel good. You get all these toxins out when you sweat, and you just feel like that you've accomplished so much, and you can go and look up 99% of websites, if you want to see what will help mental health be better or any form of health be better, they say get a regular exercise and enough sleep. So, and that's why, I need to get that voice in my head to be quiet so that I can start going back to the gym and so that I can start, feeling better. I mean, I feel good, but I would like to feel even better, right? It's always fun feeling better than there's, like I said, there's always room for improvement. So, and I'm going to leave you guys with this, when you have this self-doubt, capture the thought, question it. Is it real? Is it not? And believe in yourself. Guys, I promise you, you are worthy of whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. You are worthy of it. You are worthy of having someone's attention when you're trying to talk to them. You are worth it to be loved. You are loved. And you are strong enough, good enough, enough that you need to be to do the things that you want to do. And you need to tell yourself that. Keep telling yourself that until you believe it. In the beginning, it's going to feel stupid. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel like, what am I doing? But I promise you, I've done this. And eventually you get to a point where you're like, I am good. I can do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to show the world, and especially that voice in my head, that I can do it. I will do it. So, guys, thank you for listening to me. I kind of feel like I rambled on a little bit today. I completely went off my notes that I had, but it's okay. I think, what I ended up saying was what was more important than the notes that I made, because I talked from the heart. And kind of just in my mind, I picture having a friend or even my son sitting in front of me and just saying the things that I would normally say to encourage. And so, yes, like I always say, remember that this too shall pass. So if you're going through a rough patch, you're going through something hard right now, remember that this too shall pass. It's just a moment. What feels like it's going to stay like this forever will not. Again, with the journaling, you will see that you got through a rough patch and this too shall pass. But in the flip side, the good times will pass too. So enjoy the good times and, embrace them. And remember that if it's a bad moment, it is just a moment. It will pass. You will get past it and you will be okay. Hey guys, thank you so much for, tuning in this week to share, to listen to what I have to share with you guys. And just thank you. And if there's anybody out there that you think can benefit from hearing what I ramble on a daily basis, like my son keeps saying, I'm chatting. This is apparently the new phrase of rambling on, is you're chatting. Anyway, if there's anybody who can benefit from my chatting, let them know. Send them the podcast. Send them the link. The link is in the descriptions to get to my Facebook group. I would love to talk with y'all. And if anybody out there is good with technology and want to help me set up multiple microphones so I can start my interview process, that would be amazing, because I am having a little bit of trouble with that. But I'm not going to listen to that voice in my head that says that I'm, stupid and I can't figure it out. I will figure this out. I will make this work. And because I have a lot more stuff that I want to share with you guys, and I have a lot more to talk about or to chat about. And I'm so excited every week when I want to talk with you guys. And when I see that people are listening to the podcast, it just makes my heart, it warms my heart, because that means somebody is benefiting from it. And like I said before, if you need a friend, if you need a shoulder to cry on, if you need someone to just listen while you vent, I'm here. Call me, text me, send me a message on Facebook. I'm here. I mean, if you live in North Carolina in Troutman, Mooresville area, come and join me. Let's go have a coffee. Let's go take a walk around the neighborhood. Walking and talking is great, y'all. You should try it. But yes, I'm here. I would love to sit down and talk with you, and I would love to be your cheerleader for those moments where you're struggling and you cannot be your own cheerleader. I would gladly come next to you, hold your hand, and be your cheerleader for the day. So, but I just want to leave you guys with this thought. Like, just remember, you are amazing, you are loved, and you are worthy. You are amazing, and remember that. Believe in yourself. Thank you, guys. Talk to you next week. Bye.